Okay, so Mia, first, can you just tell me a little bit about your background with money, or just how you got started with doing what you do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on. My
You're
name is Mia Bradford, and I'm the proud founder of Beyond the Busyness. And how I got started with money? Well, actually, I was raised, my dad basically told us, like, you got to have a job and a hustle. Okay. So that was the mindset that I always had growing up. And, I started my first business at 7. I started investing in the stock market at 16. I majored in economics in undergrad, and well, what happened was I did get a job. I was offered a job out of undergrad as a auditor with two of the big five accounting firms at that time. One of them went under, and but I really, in my heart, I wanted to help people,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, well, I think I'd be a better financial planner. And
Uh,
so, of course, I had the internship. I can't remember what company it was now. I think it was like Merrill Lynch or something. I was interning with one of these companies, or volunteering, is what I like to call it.
mhm.
And I tried to, I had two interviews with two different top companies and for financial planning positions. Well, I'm 22. I am from Inglewood, California, which is historically, African American and Mexican
Mm.
area. And I knew high net worth individuals, but that probably was a whole, like, maybe two, or maybe I didn't know that I knew high net worth individuals. And
Mhm.
so they were like, basically, like, there was a quota. You had to be able to bring in like $10 million worth of business. And I'm like, I don't know people with this kind of money. So instead of following my dream, because I've had a dream to, be a businesswoman carrying a briefcase, since I was a little kid, I became a school counselor because I was like, my thing is I want to help people. And the only way I knew how to do that was through education. And I didn't feel like I was going to be able to educate people on finances by going the corporate route.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like my background with money. I have a lot more to say, but we'll we'll start there.
All right. So, well, that was interesting. Okay, so you ended up counseling people regarding their finances. Is that what you said?
No, so I became a school counselor.
Oh, school
Um,
counseling.
so I have a master's degree in school counseling from New York
Oh,
University,
okay.
and I went to undergrad at UCLA economics, and I also studied Spanish linguistics because one key
Mm.
thing also in educating people is that you have to be able to communicate with people.
Mhm.
And so because my neighborhood was black and brown, I needed to be able to communicate with my neighbors.
Yeah.
So it came in handy because, when I was as a college advisor, which became later on down the line, that was also something I'm very passionate about. I was able to communicate with families about financial aid and,
Mm.
understanding loans and paying back loans. So, like, the financial aid part, of course, was my favorite part of the process. um,
Yeah.
because, like, again, I love talking about money and I love educating about money. So, because I speak Spanish, I was able to help my Spanish families understand too. Like, this is the interest rate. This is what happens.
Hmm.
So, everything kind of all came together for me, in that way.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's something I've been struggling with for years, trying to learn how to speak Spanish and be able to communicate. But I will admit, I have not actually taken any official courses other than whatever I did in high school for 1 year. But so yeah, that's very admirable. And that, and plus you were able to communicate with different, people, the English speakers and Spanish speakers. So that should come in very handy with coaching because yes, like you say, most of us, a lot of people probably where you're from and where I'm from are. I guess, didn't grow up with understanding money. We didn't have those kind of conversations at home or in school. The only thing I ever learned in school was just, how that it was important to go to college and get a degree, but I was never taught how to manage money once that happened. So, yeah, that led to my downfall with debt. But have you had any money struggles?
Oh, yes. And, it's interesting to say now because I knew better, but I didn't do better.
I
So,
like that.
it's like I know how money works.
Right.
My parents did not have credit cards when I was growing up. My parents they used cash. But the thing is, this is what Black parents need to understand. Okay, like I'm gonna just say, like because I'm not the only person who's had this experience. Let's just say you had parents who were good with money. Money was never a topic that was on the table to be discussed. Like I didn't understand why I shouldn't go into credit card debt. I didn't understand why I should use cash. Kids are curious. Kids need to know why. Like,
yes,
I mean, if you are ever around kids, the main question they're going to ask you is why. So
That's
because
true.
I didn't understand why they were doing what they were doing, I did not. The first thing I did, and I'm sure many people have this story, when I went to undergrad, you walk in, like I said, I went to UCLA, I'm walking down Bruin Walk, and everyone's like, here's a free t-shirt, here's a free water bottle if you, sign up for this credit card. And, my parents were very, frugal, whatever. I will say that I grew up privileged because like I always had my needs met is what I will say. But once was not on the table. Like that was just like, okay. I mean, sometimes, but I heard no more so than not. And I was tired of hearing no. So I was like, well, let me just get this credit card and I'm going to get what I want to get.
Right.
Well, I have been in and out of debt like maybe like 3 or 4 times. So I would rack up all this debt, then make a lot of money and pay it off. Because one thing I know how to do is make money. So I'll be like, I'm going to make the money back. I'm going to pay it off. But that's not a good mindset to have. And that's my opinion. And if you are going to use credit cards, you need to pay them off in full every month.
Yes.
And then, so, I got my internship at Ernst & Young, paid off the credit card debt that, I had accumulated in college. Then I racked up, I had, like, by the time I became a professional, I had maybe $80,000 worth of debt, something like that, because of, my grad school loans. I went to private school for grad school. I was living in New York City. Lord knows that that's an expensive place. And so it was student loans. I think it was credit card debt, and that was it. Yeah. And then, so I had all this debt. So I went to this debt management class at my church, and people had more debt than me, but nobody was like responding. But when I had to get up and like share, like, I think I had like $75,000 worth of debt, right? And everybody was like gasping, and I'm like, what's wrong with judgment? And I'm like, this lady got $1 million worth of debt. Didn't nobody gasp at her? Like, I'm like, I only got 75,000 compared to $1 million. Like, I'm gonna be done soon. Like,
right.
So, but then, I didn't like the feeling of living check to check. Like my parents always taught, like, you gotta have money. Like my dad would always have like wads of cash. I probably shouldn't say this like live, but anyway, always my parents always had money, like cash. And so I'm like, I can't do this check to check thing. I don't understand this. Like this is not in my DNA. So I'm like, I got to get my mind right. Like, and just because you can afford a monthly payment doesn't mean you can afford that item. Right. That means you can't afford the item unless you can pay for it in full, which is what I'm doing now.
Right.
So anyways, I say all that to say that I did pay off like $25,000 in credit card debt in 18 months. Like I just got really focused. I knew better, so I did better. And so, yeah.
That is excellent. Yep, similar story here. Same thing, in and out of debt, mostly in on my end. But then, I had to, I couldn't deal with it anymore. That paycheck to paycheck, it just wasn't right. It's like something's not right here. But I always felt like everybody else was doing better than me. I'm like, how are they all surviving? Why am I the only one struggling? It took years later before I realized that everybody is struggling. As you can see, 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. But, I didn't know that at the time. And, just trying to keep up with what everybody else was doing. Yeah, it wasn't working for me. So is there any particular thing that was like your aha moment? Or like a catalyst that made you decide, okay, this is it, I'm done? Or was it just, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Like I remember very distinctly, like I was in my apartment in New York or in Brooklyn. And some bill or something came, and I was just like, I'm so tired of living check to check. Like, I'm so tired of not having enough, right? And, you know, as a Christian, you know, I believe in having an abundance mentality. There's more than enough. Everybody can eat. Like, this is an abundant society, right? And I'm just like, this is not the life that I know that, you know, God wants me to have. I know better. I need to, you know, practice better financial principles, especially because I wanted to be a financial planning professional. And, you know, I mean, you know, you work, you know, in the medical industry. You know, there's people who work in the medical field that are not like the healthiest people. They smoke, they eat poorly. And so, you know, just because people are financial planners doesn't mean their finances they're doing the right thing. So I was just like, I need to have integrity with myself. Like, and so I remember I was so angry that I opened the door to my bedroom and it hit the closet door and it made a hole in the door. And I just, it stood out a lot to me because I'm just like, I should never be at the point where I'm so angry about money that I'm, you know, destroying property, basically.
Right.
So that was like my turning point. Now, you know, I went to the classes. For me, I need accountability. Like, you know, so I was upfront. I sent an email to all of my girlfriends. I was like, hey, I need to get out of debt. I'm not going to all these parties. I'm not going to all these things. I'm not doing this no more because this is not helping me to be the best person that I can be. So, but you know what? I never missed a beat. People start paying for me to go. If you want me to go, you got to pay. Well, not that you have to pay. People offered to pay. I did not say this, you know. And it was, you know, my friends took care of me in that 18 months. So.
Well, that's wonderful. That's one, but I like that you needed that accountability and you had to put people on notice. It's like, you know, I have to change things and, you know, I won't be able to, you know, I'm getting focused. That's just all of our part about being focused. You know, it's like, sometimes you have to say no. And like you said, if people want you to come, they'll pay for you. And that was wonderful that they cared enough about you and wanted to be in your presence enough that they're like, don't worry about it, Mia, we'll take care of you. So
exactly.
Excellent. So have you faced any significant challenges on your journey to debt freedom or getting your business started or with helping people?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say staying out of debt is a challenge. You know, I actually have more debt now that I live in Texas than I did in New York because, you know, I have a car payment and a house payment. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. So right now I'm actually on a journey to like even eliminate student loans, car payment, and then eventually pay off my mortgage early. Cause I just like, I don't want any debt. Like I just don't, I can't do it. It's just like for lack of a better term, it's just like having a weight on my neck, you know? And then, so definitely staying out of debt has been a big challenge for me. So what I do is, I look at my finances weekly, and just kind of like monitor and like pay off, you know, every time I get a check, pay that balance. And then any extra money goes towards that. I'm taking this year off from traveling, which traveling is like my joy, but guess what? You just have to sacrifice. Like, sacrifice today. What my friend said something like short-term sacrifice, long-term happiness.
I like that. Short-term sacrifice, long-term happiness. That's true. And, you know, that's the part I think where a lot of people, they go wrong or they don't, what is a big obstacle for them because they don't want to give up anything, you know. Right. And like you said, exactly, sometimes it's just short term, and you know, and eventually once you start creating more cash flow and have a better handle and better focus with your money and being more intentional, you can plan for those things so that you can still have what you want. I mean, I never felt like I was missing out on anything because my mindset shifted. So it's like my values changed. So, you know, and then I was able to, and once I got intentional, I was able to still have whatever I wanted. But I think what the things that I wanted changed is what happened. So that's important. So I know you like to, that self-care is important to you. Can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So, actually, I founded Beyond the Busyness because, again, knowing better but not doing better. So I was that person in New York City, that was everywhere all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an introvert, so that doesn't even make sense. But I basically, because I'm an introvert, I would burn myself out very easily,
Mm-hmm.
trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to
Mm-hmm.
keep up with this person and keep up with that person and not recharging. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I faced a lot of physical ailments, let's just say. I mean, you name it. I'll just start at the top. Headaches,
Mm-hmm.
sinus allergies, which I'm dealing with allergies right now,
Mm-hmm.
asthma.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, let's go on down. Pinched nerve on the right side of my body,
Mm-hmm.
patellofemoral syndrome in my left knee, cracked bone in my foot. You name it, I
Mm-hmm.
dealt with it. So sorry, I'm still dealing with a little allergy.
That's okay.
So I'm at the healthiest I've ever been. Fortunately, I am an aerial yoga instructor, which I really enjoy doing. Anything that I'm passionate about, I just want to share with people. I guess I'm like a natural educator. And what else? So self-care for me is a daily practice now. Before, I did not practice self-care. Like, I would literally just get sick, and that would
Mm-hmm.
cause me to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But now I realize that in order for me to show up for myself, or for anyone for that matter, I have to have what I call my success fuel. And for me, that is sleep and space.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone has a different success fuel. Like, some of my guy friends, their success fuel is they have to work out every day in order to feel like, productive or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I need a lot of sleep. I need naps. I need 7 to 8 hours a night. And I need space in my schedule, which I am failing at right now during this Corona thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's like everything is virtual. So it's like, technically you can do it, but after today, I'm not doing that anymore. So what I mean by space is that, like, if I have something to do from 1 to 2, I'm not doing anything from 2 to 3. Like, I just need to just be, like, and just reset and recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Or every Sunday, generally what I try to do is take like 4 hours in the afternoon where I disconnect. And I'm not on the phone. I'm just doing whatever I want to do without people.
Right.
I'm as an introvert, I need that time. Now, you might be an extrovert, so you might need time with people to recharge.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to determine. For me, like, self-care is emotional. So what do you need for your emotional well-being? I use aromatherapy for that.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, like I said, aerial yoga. And then financially, because we all know if your money is not right, your mind is not right. So it's cyclical to me. It's a holistic process. So I check on my money every week, maybe even more than once a week, depending on, what's going on. But I'm looking at my accounts, my retirement accounts. Are they growing? Do I need to reallocate? Some people don't even know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
First, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
You got to understand that kind of stuff. Making sure I don't overdraft, right? Like, some people are swiping their debit card, but you got to make sure you're not overdrafting. What else? Just recording my expenses, because it's important for you to know how much money you spend on a regular basis. Because sometimes you think like, oh, well, I'm just spending, $10 a week on Starbucks, but really you're spending $25 a week on Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to have an idea so that you can course correct and plan accordingly.
Absolutely. Oh, tracking is so important because that's one thing that I realized that was holding me back, and that people that I've talked to is that they're just not tracking. They just don't even know what's coming in and what's going out. And that's a lot of, so you can't plug the spending leaks. So that's a lot of why so many people don't know where their money is, or can't seem to make their ends meet, because they really don't know where. They have no clue about their cash flow. And that's definitely one of the key things. Just start tracking. And I'm still trying to figure out, I think I said I was going to write a post about that. Why people don't track? What is it? Does it just seem like too much effort, or what is the reason why in the beginning we don't track? Or maybe we just don't know that we should be doing that. But there's Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, first it does take effort. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of what you were talking about with the tracking, and then before what we were talking about, like the sacrifice, is the
Yeah.
discipline. It's hard for
Discipline.
people to practice discipline, right? It's
Discipline.
like the people who want to lose weight but they don't work out because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm tired. And but
Yeah.
what you have to do, I think, is determine how important is this goal to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the end result worth, whatever the process, and you got to enjoy yourself on the journey. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's annoying, like every time I buy a candy or
Yeah.
something small, to put it, I have an app that I just whip out my phone. Like if I'm at the gas pump, as
Yeah.
soon as the gas is finished pumping, I record the amount, right? Yes, okay, it takes an extra 30 seconds out of your time, but at least I have a realistic idea of how much money I spend on gas a month
Mm-hmm.
versus just saying, okay, I'm going to allocate $200 a month to gas, but maybe I only need 160. So now I can do something else with that $40. But I only know that because I track it, and I can take, quarterly, monthly, yearly average, and then actually allocate properly.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but and then you gotta want it. You gotta want it. Like, is it more important to you to not to not be inconvenienced than it is for you to have financial independence? You have to choose.
That is so true. And that was the mindset shift for me. It's like I decided I wanted to start keeping my money. You know, a lot of times it's like we start planning to spend our money as soon as we get it. I mean, you know, like I don't know about you, but I could already be thinking, even in a job interview, it's like, okay, when I get this job, now I can buy that car. Ooh, we can move over to here. Oh, I can, I can finally get that whatever it is that I've been wanting, or when I get a raise, it's like, now I'm gonna go buy that washing machine. Ooh, I wanted that handbag. It's like we're just trained to start figuring out how to get rid of our money even before we get it, versus I started looking at it differently, like, okay, how can I keep my money? What can I do to hang on to it? So yeah, it really took that mind. And now when I get a raise, it's like, ooh, that means I can add that to my investment. Ooh, that means I can add that to my emergency fund. Now I can, see what mutual funds I can invest in, something like that. I started, totally just shifting the way I thought about what I need to be doing with my money. And it's not to get rid of it. It's how can I hang on to it? What can I do? What can I do less to make sure that I don't spend it, or what can I do more of to keep it or get more? But yeah, so definitely realize that you gotta want it. You can get it, and you can find that money, but you gotta realize what it is that you really want, and go for that. I mean, how important is, just like you said, how important are things to you versus, hanging on to your money. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah, for people struggling with money, what can they do to take care of themselves?
That's a great question. Okay, so there's a ton of things you can do for free. Yeah, self-care really doesn't have to cost money. Actually, like my favorite self-care, like I told you, sleep and space, they don't cost no money.
Right, right.
So, so here's what I would recommend. So first, really figure out, you have to experiment with some things and figure out what works for you. So there's meditation that you can do. And meditation is just literally just being still and connecting and being present. Especially if you can do it outside. Like, for example, like where I am right now, there's just a lot of beautiful trees, flowers, butterflies, all kind of beautiful things, right? Like, just focus on, okay, this is a beautiful butterfly. Look at this pretty flower. Like, actually intentionally paying attention to what is in front of you at the moment. That doesn't cost any money. It's showing gratitude and appreciation for that which is around you. Also, journaling is another form of self-care. So like if you have a lot of things going on internally, angry, anxiety, or happiness and joy, right? So you got the spectrum there. Write about it, right? Like this is an unprecedented time in our lifetimes right now. So, one of my friends was like, "Mia, you should really document what's going on." And I hate journaling personally. I'm more of a bullet point person. I'm not a writer. I'm a numbers girl. as you can tell.
Okay.
So if I am going to write, I'm probably going to bullet point, and then, kind of write out what's going on. Taking walks in nature. Getting into nature is really good. I know everyone is social quarantining right now, but it is so many people out here taking a walk. Just be 6 feet away from the people. You can go outside, put your N95 mask on if that's what you need to do. Go take a walk. Get some vitamin D. Go get some sunlight. That is a great way for self-care. Talk to people who love you and who you love, not the people who drain you. It's not the time to talk to them. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta hit decline. Sometimes I cannot talk to that person because my mind is not right. I don't have the energy for what they're about to bring. So understanding when you're not in the mindset, okay, they can keep calling you, but guess what? You pay that phone bill. You don't have to answer the phone. Like, you just don't. So,
I like that.
what else can you do? You can sometimes, I like reading. I read a lot of books. Also, sometimes for me, because my mind is constantly going and thinking, I need to stop my mind. So sometimes I watch a movie or a documentary, so I can just focus on that and not, focus on all the things that are happening in my head. And then also just do some yoga. So I am posting free yoga classes on my Facebook page, Beyond the Busyness. You can go check them out over there. I'm not teaching them because my yoga requires equipment, but the studios that I work at are doing them. So you can follow those studios, which you'll see on my Facebook page. And you can get some free yoga classes. And because you're concentrating on the pose, you're technically meditating and you're exercising. And so you're knocking out two birds with one stone, and you're getting your mind off of whatever it is you were thinking about.
Oh, wow. That is a lot of, just free things that you can do, and stress relievers, right? That really helps to relieve, the tension, the stress, all that, and so many options. I love that. Getting your natural vitamin D, just getting out there, and that staying away from people who might be toxic, or you're not in the right frame of mind, or that will bring down your mood or change it to something negative. I love that. I love that. You have to mentally prepare yourself to deal with certain people at certain times. So I like that. So are there any tools or resources I know that you said you use an app, right?
Yes. So I use, actually this is not even an app that I use for meditation. It's through podcast. So you can download, it's called Encounter. There's tons of free meditation apps. So you can just search up meditation and see what works for you. I personally like Encounter because it's biblical based, and so he talks you through scripture. There's prayer time. It's 20 minutes every morning. I do it. I love it. There's other apps that people use. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but you can just literally Google it, and I'm sure in your app store you can find those apps. Again, for free yoga classes, you can go to Republic Aerial Yoga or Crystal Yoga Studio for free yoga classes. You can also just Google journaling prompts. If you want more of a structured way to journal, and use generally on your cell phone, you have some type of health tracking app. So you can actually track your steps if you want to. I know my phone, there's this app called Heart, I think, tracks my steps and stuff throughout the day. So that's something you can do. I'm trying to think what else you can do for free. If you don't have a journal, use the notes section on your phone. Or Microsoft Word on your computer. That's what I can think of for now.
That's good. What about money tips? Do you have any to help people that are struggling with their finances, especially now?
Yes. So There's a lot to say about that, you know, because I've done a little research on the psychology behind money,
Mm-hmm.
and really the thing is to really think about the root of why you spend on
Mm-hmm.
what you spend. So, for
Right.
example, for myself, just to be transparent, I know that I got into a lot of debt because I heard a lot of no growing up for things that
Mm-hmm.
I wanted, and then I was like, well, I'm an adult now, so I can get whatever I want.
Yeah.
I can, but that doesn't mean that I should. So
Right.
you really have to think about the psychology behind why you do what you do. Like, is there something? I'm also a licensed counselor, so
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother story. But you know, you want to think about at the core, why are you spending? Are you trying to fill a void? Things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Two, get accountability. If you're not the most disciplined person in the world, find somebody who can hold you accountable
Mm-hmm.
to you know, your goals basically. And yes, and know that the process or the journey may not be the most pleasant. Like you may have to give up stuff and sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
but think about the end result. Like you know, like for the people who may run marathons, right? Yeah, it's hard to run. I think it's what 26, 32 miles, however long. It's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Something, you
Long
know,
way.
it's a long way. Okay, it's a long way. I have friends that run marathons. You know, that ain't my ministry,
Uh-huh.
but I will fly in the air on the aerial yoga rig. But
Okay.
you know, figure out, you know, what is the end goal, like how can you celebrate reaching the end goal? That's what I would definitely say. Like when you get to that point, but enjoy the process along the way. So I think those will be like my main
Yeah.
tips if you're struggling with money. And then if you need help, reach out. You know, you can reach out to myself. Reach out to a financial professional that
Mm-hmm.
they want to educate you,
Right.
because most people they just want to take your money.
Mm-hmm.
I have my own financial planner, but you want somebody who's going to explain to you what
Mm-hmm.
what your money is doing, and don't be scared of numbers. Really, finance is really multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting. You can do that. If you have a high school diploma,
Mm-hmm.
chances are you can do that.
Right.
But you just have to understand what the formulas are, and it's not a formula. It is literally plus, minus, add, subtract.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unless you get into the more investing stuff, but the basics you can do that.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, that's helpful. I love that. Now, what promotions or where can people find you or courses or whatever? What do you have going on?
Oh, I have a ton. So you
Great.
can find me on beyondthebusyness.com. So that's DEYONDTHEBUSYNESS.com.
Mhm.
And you'll find, you know, right now I'm actually doing a lot of lives on helping people to understand essential oils and how to use them to boost your immunity.
Mhm.
And I'm also offering free financial discovery calls. So if you
Mhm.
are ready to set up your financial foundation, you can book one there.
Okay.
And I'm really, you know, just happy to talk to anybody who wants to be educated around aromatherapy or
Mhm.
around finances. Aerial yoga will come back when we come out of quarantine,
Mhm.
because you do need equipment, but we will have some free. I'll post some free lessons as well on my Instagram page. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well under Beyond the Busyness.